in a more temporary position to fill in for another board member. I have been involved in MNFurs for since 2012, so quite a few years. I do a lot of stuff with events, and looking forward to helping out at a much greater capacity.
Good next with Furo.
Hi, I'm Euro. I have been with the board, I believe, since 2017. I'm the secretary for the board, so I take the notes for that. Also, I have been involved with photography for much longer. I've been in with MNFurs for since about 2015, and that's how I got started with the group.
I think this is alphabetical. I think it's me next. My name is Rico. I am currently the Minnesota First Board of Directors president. A lot of you maybe recognize me from the Discord and from VR chat, so it's nice to kind of, I mean, not put a face to you guys, but maybe put a face to me. I've been probably involved with Minnesota First, maybe the least in the group, but I have been a part of the events for quite a while. Starting back when I was in Fargo, North Dakota, I would make the trek out to Minnesota with several friends to come for the picnics and to come to Ground Zero for the convention and everything. So that's my background. I've been involved with the board for what is it? You probably know better than me. My brain's fried today. Just shy of a year.
Um, yeah, just shy of a year. I mean, we got elected in April or March, and then yeah, just shy of a year.
So yeah, and then that's a great segue into Sin. If you want to give your introduction.
Hi, my name is Sin Letterman. I go by Cinder. I've been involved in some capacity with Minnesota Furs since, oh gosh, I don't even know, 2011, 10, somewhere around there. I've worked on both sides, both for the society. I've been a staff for Wear Camp, which is a winter adult camping event that's on hiatus, but we'll be back next year. I've also worked several years with the elections for the board, and then I've been part of leadership for Furry migration in the past. So I've been a little bit here, a little bit there. Now I'm focusing more on actually on board things and trying to work on our social media. We're going to be reworking our website this year and updating some things because our website is 10 years old and it's time to make changes. That's about all I've got for right now.
Great. So I think we'll kind of kick off this panel with a lot of people, and I'm just making assumptions here, maybe might not know exactly the structure that goes into Minnesota Furs because not every organization involved with their state is established as a nonprofit. So I guess who here would like to just kindly kind of just dip into how Minnesota Furs works with our 501c3 status?
I can talk about that some. Minnesota First started as a group gathering. Then around 2010, people decided, hey, we're collecting a lot of money and we should probably organize and be a nonprofit. And so they began the process to organize. And so we organize as a 501c3, which means we have a federal recognized by the federal government as a unity, and that we're a nonprofit and with the main goal of being educational. That's what the C3 designation means. And there's other groups and all that, but we are at the time it was determined that we wanted to be able to educate ourselves, other people, both in the community, outside the community, and doing that through various events, but also through furry migration. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that because it gets deep very fast. That's the simple part.
Yeah, and then to segue off that, if anyone's currently watching and wants to ask any questions inside Discord, there is a panels channel, text channel called no, not events. Meet the MNFurs board. So if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, feel free to just poke it in there. I guess kind of to just go into it a little bit more here. Euro, did you want to just mention real quick, just a kind of a topic of discussion, what goes into just being a secretary on the board of directors?
Well, basically, secretary, the main task is to just keep the meeting notes, uh, take care of a lot of the administrative things, just keep things in order, keep things filed correctly, and then if we need to reference something or if we need to um, like make note of something, things like that. That's what I've been involved in most of the time I've been here.
And to kind of to touch point into our next subject, I know that there's been a lot of people, at least when setting up for immigration online, that of people that want to get involved. Um, does anyone have any points or anywhere that they would recommend a great, and I can help answer this, but any good places to get started with Minnesota Furs? I know that it's definitely probably not usually the first step into getting involved, being a board member. Does anyone want to talk about maybe the first steps of volunteering?
Essentially, let's see. It's more of what what would you like to get involved with? What are you able to bring to the table, and how do you want to help out? And it's essentially just meeting with the right people and talking to the right people, just to get your name out there, and then just little by little contribute what you can, and then the small things lead on to much bigger things, and then it's just the biggest struggle I would say is just navigating through uh, who to talk to, and being able to decide, all right, what do you want to contribute? What are you able to contribute? And getting your way in there.
Um, to kind
Yeah,
of
and that
touch base
can.
on that real quick. Oh, I was just going to actually go to Drake. I was go ahead, Drake.
I was just to add on to Euro. If you're not entirely sure who you should be talking to based on what you decide you want to do as far as stuff to bring to the table, you can always contact events at or not events, but the board at. I'm sorry. What's the board email again?
Directors at MNFurs.org.
Yep, and then you can ask simple questions there, and then from there, one of us will be able to direct you to the correct person to talk to.
I'm actually going to make a call to our production team, sitting not far from me, but definitely socially distancing. If for a bit they can put up an email address of directors at mn.org, I'm sure somebody else can help you with the spelling of that. If anyone, like Drake said, if anyone has any questions or has wants to get involved, even though we're not doing anything physically together, there's definitely opportunities to get involved. Um, I know if anyone, I know, well, actually, we have something coming up, elections. Does anyone want to kind of touch base and talk about elections and what that means and how people can vote? I don't mean to toss this onto you, Sin, but do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, there's lots of things to add. I mean, since we're a nonprofit organization, we're required to, and have this designation by the state. We were required to have a certain amount of officers and all that, and to represent and have fiduciary responsibilities. Big scary term, fiduciary responsibilities, but it's what it it means basically to make sure that we're keeping the society and everything on the up and up, that we are made acting in the best interest of our community and things like that. And so we need people to volunteer to be candidates to run for the election, which actually our candidate nominations open tomorrow and are open for most of the month of January. There's a post out on the yes, the MNFurs website. Sorry, I'm used to saying furry migration, so I always have to think about it. Um, but if you go out to the MNFurs website, and you'll start seeing some posts on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, talking about that. And basically, we just need people to step forward, volunteer, or at least even ask questions about what it is to be on the board. There is a bit going on there, but the post that's on the website will talk about some of the little details, how many hours you could be looking at putting into it for the year, things like that. Unfortunately, it is not a paid position, and I know that breaks everybody's heart because we all want to make that $50,000 on it, but it's about serving the community really. But and we're working on some training about what it is to be a board member. That's something I'm trying to get more information. But in COVID times, it's a little bit hard to do that. But um, we we don't want you to jump into this blind. We're always glad to ask questions. Have you ask questions? You can attend our board meetings, which are virtual, and find more about it. And maybe you would like to run for it. Again, with COVID times, it's a little bit harder because we don't have all our events going on. But feel free to ask questions.
I did want to also just kind of touch base, like Sin said, right now with COVID and everything, it's kind of hard to get involved and get the volunteer hours that are needed to vote or run as a candidate on the board. I just did want to quickly just reiterate that things as simple as moderating and helping with our MNFurs Discord does earn hours. So if you're looking at getting involved more, I'm not suggesting anyone that's not involved now rush to moderate to get those hours so they can run for the board. But it's definitely doesn't hurt to get those hours. And I know our current moderators now are collecting those hours. That does enable you to vote for who will be on the board next to replace any vacancies that we'll have, which I believe coming up, we'll have a vacancy on the two vacancies on the board,
Two.
two vacancies on the board.
Two vacancies.
Correct. So at the moment, we'll have two vacancies on the board. I mean, now's a great time than any if you do want to get involved and see what's what does it entail. Like Sin said, all our board meetings, which are virtual right now, can be attended virtually. So I don't have a production monitor in front of me or for the program, but at the bottom of the screen, if that email is up for the directors at MNFurs.org, feel free to shoot us an email. Just be like, hey, I want to get involved more. I want to sit in on a board meeting and see what goes into it. I mean, by all means, feel free. For all the people that I've been working with on the MNFurs Discord, I think that there's a lot of potential for any of you guys really to get involved and more if that's really something that you're looking at doing. Um, it's definitely something to do if you have a lot of downtime. um,
And to get other hours for voting and all that, you have 3 months. The voting hours have to be in by March 1st. So we have Discord moderators. We do have forums, which we actually really don't have any moderators for. We're, like I said earlier in my introduction, we're redoing the website and doing a lot of web-based stuff. There's lots of opportunities to volunteer and get hours in 3 months. So
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil what's up next for our next panel, which would be talking about events and how to plan for events, which includes both physical and virtual. So if event planning is something that you want to get more involved in, the panel after this with Drake and Vaughn will be a great step into learning how you can get involved to make those events happen. So I encourage anyone that's interested in bringing to the table, if you enjoy our oval meets, if you enjoy our picnics, if you enjoy Wear Camp or even Furry Migration, getting involved with the events team is a great way to bring new and exciting things to the table. If you're someone that really enjoys home brewing at home, maybe do an event on that. Share your expertise. Anything that you think that is interesting to you will likely be interesting to other furs within our community. So anything else anyone wants to touch base on about being a board member or what its involvement or volunteering?
Looks like we did have one question.
Somebody asked, what got you interested in joining the MNFurs board? This is actually a really good question. And let's start from the top, working our way down from starting with Drake.
Well, with the many years that I've been involved with MNFurs, first starting just with a research division back when the steering group was being started, going from that and then eventually finding my niche in events, and then eventually working my way into furry migration. I was just looking forward to honestly just seeing if anything, what changes I can make at higher level. And again, still being very much brand new to the board, I haven't been given any official tasks yet, but um, I want to keep pushing myself further, challenging myself further, and really, again, just helping out because it's just something I love to do. So.
And before we move on to Euro, Drake, I don't know if I was just not hearing things because I'm not all completely here at the moment, but before you got involved with the board, you were very involved with the events, correct?
That is correct.
Gotcha. So I just wanted to put that out there. Getting involved with the events department is a great segue into stepping up and working for the board if that's something that you're interested in doing. Euro, what got you interested in joining the Minnesota Furs board?
Well, I heard that there was an open position out there um, uh, on the board, and I did try and run for that, but there were some administrative conflicts of interest that I didn't realize. So the alternative was to get involved in a different way, and that way did work out. So that's how I ended up on the board in the first place. The reason why I decided to help out is just realizing that yes, there is something behind these events, and I just wanted to see if there was any way that I could help out with the skills that I have and what I could bring to the table, just to try and see if I could make things run a little bit better.
To flow in alphabetical order, I'll go next. Honestly, with Minnesota Furs being a huge outlet for me when I had nothing better to do in Fargo, North Dakota, um, it was a great reason to come down and get involved and meet new great people at an event level. And just everyone that I met there was super influential to me. And when I eventually relocated to Minnesota to live permanently, um, Minnesota Furs was always a big deciding factor into moving to the state, honestly. I mean, how many other states can you go to and say that there's something like Minnesota Furs um, established there for the community? So that was a huge deal to me. And I wanted to see what I could do to bring to the table to make Minnesota Furs um, even better. So that was my motivation to becoming involved with the board.
And then I guess I'm last. I came into the fandom sideways through convergence in sci-fi and fantasy and anime, and I had been involved in leadership there, and I saw some of the skills I learned at that time that could be used over on the MNFurs side, and so um, anybody who knows me closely has asked me to be on the board while I was working at a convention, and I've always put my foot down. I said board or the convention. I will not do both. It was time for me to be done with the convention. It had been a while, and so my time was now free enough to join the board and bring some of the ideas that I've had for the community over there and work on some of the things that I have training in with communications and public relations, things like that. And just wanted to see things upgrade because I keep coming back to the website's 10 years old and it's done its job, and now we move that along and hopefully bring new things on. Um, and just working with the community. I mean, there's so many people in the community and it's so broad and has so many different interests. And it's just always fun to learn new things about people and getting to share that with everyone and being this community that's so unique from so many other fandoms. So,
Actually, Sin, you brought up a really interesting point that I kind of want to talk a little bit more into. Call me crazy, but is getting involved with Minnesota Furs at a board level a great thing to put on a resume saying that you've worked for a nonprofit board?
yes, I I, I'm actually on another board currently. I'm also I've been the president and vice president for a Lions Club here in North Minneapolis called Camden Lions, and all of that is great experience to um, move your resume along. You bring it shows that you're active in your community, and like Rico said, it's a good thing because people see that you're engaged and you're paying attention to what's around you besides just working all the time and just doing other things. You have other outside influences and interests, and that it shows you're connected to your community.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I want to actually touch base a little bit on that as well. Previously, when I lived out in New Hampshire, I worked for a nonprofit as an employee, which they were a nonprofit TV station, and I was a producer there, which probably makes a lot more sense why I'm so involved with the video team here at Furry Migration. Um, Having been on that side of a nonprofit, I thought it would be super interesting to be as a director on the nonprofit to see what goes into that. And part of the reason I believe that I was also elected on, having no experience being on a board, which by the way, you don't need experience to be on the board. Part of the reason I think that I was voted onto the board was because Minnesota Furs is a an educational nonprofit. Is since I didn't know much about being on the board, it was a great learning experience to understand that better. Um, does anyone else have anything? Maybe I can't imagine. Euro, did you have any board experience before you were part of Minnesota Furs?
The only thing that was even close to board experience that I got was when I was at in let's see, it was partly when I was in undergrad, partly when I was in grad school. There was an anime club at the university, and I was helping run and turn that around because it didn't have a good reputation. Uh, so I was involved with getting that back on track, and that lasted until I graduated. But other than that, no, I don't have much board experience. I mean, I went to business school, but business school can only do so much in preparing you for the board. It's not very easy to get board experience unless you have board experience from another board. And for me, it was just, all right, pick up things and pick up skills as I went along. And the best way to do that, I would say, is to actually go to the board meetings and see how things are run, and then develop your own style to sort of adhere to the rules, because we all as board members have to adhere to not only like how we set up our rules, but also governmental rules on several different levels. And you can have your own style as long as you adhere to the rules.
Mhm.
You can still be yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone on the board brings their own unique views onto the organization, which is why the board has its voting processes and you motion things, is everyone brings their own perspectives into something. That way, it's not just being ran by an all-powerful overlord of an organization. That's what the board is there for, is for the structure. Um, I did. I keep getting distracted with different segues off of different great points everyone's bringing up. We did have a question inside Discord of what is everybody's fursona? And I guess we'll start with Drake.
Well, as you can see from my icon in Discord, I am a silver fox, and sort of a nerdy, geeky story. He started off as his background was Fox McCloud's brother in the Star Fox team, but then as soon as I joined MNFurs back in 2012 and started kind of getting my own traction there, then his persona then transformed into whatever, pretty much what a lot of people know me as, Biz Fox or the Business Fox, and yeah.
Euro, if you want to go up next.
Sure. My persona is a black wusky with the gold stripe down the head and the back. That's in my icon. Otherwise, I do have a fursuit, and it is of a jaguar, Kaitak, and that's more of a character rather than uh like the portrayal of who I am in real life. And I had thought about getting a fursuit of Euro, my whiskey character, but the color palette. Let's just say the color palette it poses some problems.
For myself, my persona I would primarily identify with would be a raccoon, and there's several different reasons for that. I Being up late is something that is part of my nature. Usually, I can find pretty cool stuff in a dumpster and fix it up and turn it around. With the whole e-waste side of things. So that's kind of why I picked that. Anyone that knows me better would know that I have a couple side characters just for animals that I think are pretty cool, like a kangaroo. Kangaroos are cool. Who doesn't like a kangaroo? Those are what exists for me.
I do a bit of role playing or board or role or RPGing, and we were doing a Pathfinder, furry Pathfinder, where I ended up creating a fire kitsune and and took care of enemies a lot by burning down buildings that they were in. So I tend to identify with kitsunes, five tail, all tails are colors, or just foxes in general. My roommate makes sure I do not lack for having foxes around, and so some other people in my life. Um, so I kind of like all of that, and we're a nonprofit, and because we're talking about foxes, and I love this because I saw it on a morning show here locally. We have a fox rescue down south in Faribault. That's called Save a Fox, and they're awesome. And if you go looking for it, we have Dixie Doo stealing the owner of the rescue's phone and running around the yard with it. So it's kind of amusing. It's 2 minutes long. Give them a plug, even though it's not with the board. But I hope once COVID is done to see if we can get a field trip to go down for anybody who is interested, which is why I bring it up when we can have events again.
All great sonas to have. We got another great question from Augie Doodle, who asks, "How much time do you have to dedicate for being on the board?" I'll kind of start leading into this one with some assistance because I can't remember all the numbers. How many hours does it require to have logged with Minnesota Furs in the current year to run as a candidate for the Minnesota Furs board?
I think
20.
if I think that's for being able to vote. And I think there's a different number for if you want to run as a candidate. If I remember correctly. But I will say that the meetings, we hold them once a month. Usually they're about 3 hours long. And the thing is the work it's more of the work that's outside of those monthly board meetings that can vary depending on what tasks you decide to take on for the board, and also like what tasks the board is given, because there are times in the year where the board has more to do versus uh, times where it's more of a lull. So for things like prepping for a picnic, prepping for furry migration, um, post-mortem for events, things like that. That's when we're going to have a much fuller schedule. We have during the meetings, and also if there's a particular project we're taking on, yes, there may be a lot more work involved in outside of the monthly meetings, and that can vary depending on how much on what sort of project it is and what you decide to do for it.
Yeah, actually, I think Euro is read Augie's question a lot more to what it actually was, and that's how much time being on the board you have to dedicate to being towards the board. So actually, that's a great answer, Euro. I didn't think about it from that perspective. Um, Drake had to step out for preparation for our next panel. I did just want to kind of touch base on one more question that we actually have from a viewer. What are you looking forward to in 2021 with MNFurs, and where would you like to see the org to go? The new alphabetical order, I guess we'll follow is Euro.
Well, what I would like to see is, Sin, you had mentioned this a couple times in that the website is 10 years old, and
Mhm.
I am trying to help out with getting that tidied up. I'm part of that, and it's that would probably be the thing that I am looking forward to. Looking forward to what I had hoped is that because 2020 there was less going on because of COVID, you can't have a lot of our events. They're on hiatus. Is that would have created a little bit more time to sort of get these projects that we have been wanting to do, but we haven't had enough time and we haven't had enough people dedicated to working on them to sort of get them off the to-do list, so to speak.
I'll touch base on my question real quick because we were actually pretty close to time here. Um, with me, there's a lot of cool. I'm not going to double dip on what Euro said about the website. Like everyone else said here, it's showing its age and it's looking about time for a refresh. Um, One of our first steps that we have taken that I'm really excited to go into with 2021 is the introduction of new platforms to MNFurs. For those that aren't aware, Minnesota Furs recently launched its Discord, which I think was perfect with COVID as an outlet for everyone to kind of communicate and be engaged with their community in replacement for the events until we can have those events again. And also, I'm sure the events panel will talk a little bit more about it. Coming up with events that are compliant with social distancing has been also kind of a interesting. I don't want to say fun adventure because there's nothing fun about COVID, but it's interesting to kind of challenge yourself. And I guess that also is another reason why I joined the board is to kind of challenge yourself into trying something new. Um, Coming up with these new events, like I'm sure they'll touch base on it, the potential virtual Pinewood Derby that we're planning, um, and they'll talk more about that. But that's kind of what I'm excited for in going into 2021, other than a vaccine. But that's about it. And I guess then to wrap up on you.
Yeah, just be able to meet in person again. I mean, it just makes everything so hard to do it online. I mean, we're such a social community, and I think everybody is doing the best they can, but we're all struggling through this. So once we can get back together and actually have picnics and in-person things with whatever our standards are at that time, that the government decides that are the best for what needs to happen at that point is what I'm looking forward to. And then again, I've been talking about the website, and I'm excited to see where we're going to go with that, and um, looking for input from people who are interested in seeing anything, and they can email me at cinder@mnfurs.org or communications@mnfurs.org. Um, but to spell Cinder, so everybody can reach me if they wish to, it's CYNDYR. So that's what I have for tonight.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Thank you, Euro, and thank you, Sin, for giving up a part of your New Year's night to join us for this panel. I'm sure everyone appreciates it. Just as a recap, if anyone wants to watch this again, it will be posted on our YouTube at some point after the event. Um, and just as to reiterate again, if anyone has any questions or wants to get more involved with us, don't hesitate to shoot us an email, directors@mnfurs.org. And I'm sure I'll post that in the panel chat for anyone that wants to grab it. So to kind of sign off, Sin, Euro, thanks for joining us here at Furry Migration Online. And we're going to send it off to Vaughn and Drake, who are going to talk about the Events 101.